Aloha, everybody, and welcome to Creators
Unstuck.
Yeah, okay. You know what it is.
We did.
I'm Doc Rock. I am one of your hosts of Creators Unstuck, and this is the podcast where we help, creators get unstuck. What are we talking about today, Mary Lou?
We are talking about resistance in your workflow as a content creator. Now, I have definitely had to work through that in my time as a content creator, as a creative, as a human. And I would love to know if that is something that you guys are facing as well. But that's what we're going to talk about today.
You know, it's funny you say that because I until you just brought it up at the very, very second, a lot of the things that get creators stuck is what just get general people unstuck. And so one portion of me really hates the deep dive into labels, because I think a lot of times labels can mess with you. So a lot of the things that we are attempting to fix as creators are also things that you just need to fix as being a general human, right? Mm-hmm. They kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, let's dive into that. I am curious from the audience. I want you to tell, we talked about this in the first episode, and we are starting to get some feedback from our crew. So big ups to our crew. Look, we're going to have to come up with a name for them. The Unstuckies? No, I'm just joking. We'll figure out a name for the fam. Wait till you guys see the ending that I came up with. It's super stupid, but it's also good. I can't wait. Let's end the show now so I can just tell them. I don't like keeping a secret. Anyway. So we got some good info from you, but we still want to know, what has you unstuck? What's keeping you unstuck? And so in the process of doing that, we thought this week we would identify the clogs, because maybe you're not even sure what has you stuck. There's a bunch of things and you're not sure which one of those is the root cause. When I worked at Apple, Steve always told us to look for the root cause. And what he meant by that, there were people who solved the problem by changing the light bulb. If the light bulb burns out, change the light bulb, continue to move. Steve said, if the light bulb keeps burning out, anybody thought to check the lamp? And people don't do that, right? Because they immediately go, it must be the light bulb, right? For computers, common situation. This is not working. People will come in, we change the cable, and it just works. And it's like, you didn't think to check the $8 cable. It must naturally be the $3,000 computer that's causing the issue, not the $8 cable, right? So in that same vein, I think a lot of times people are identifying the clogs by things they hear other people say, so they assume they have it, but they haven't done that internal introspection. That's the right word. I had to get my word right.
Yes, you got the word. So we'll start from the widest, most apparent one, which you're talking about, people are seeing just the thing that's closest to their face. So the first point of resistance that was for me that I addressed first was the physical, the tools, the gear. Oh, do I not know how to use this camera? Is that why I can't create? Do I not have the right light? Is that why I can't create? And addressing all of those things. Is it that I have to take time to set up the set? Fine, I addressed that. I made a permanent set that does not ever move. That can't be an excuse anymore. And I just slowly ticked off everything until I got to the point where I was like, okay, now we have to face some other things.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not intentionally in support. I'm technically in marketing, but because I know this stuff, people tend to ask me support-oriented questions. And people say, well, the reason why they can't do this is because they haven't figured out how to use their camera yet. And I'm like, your camera came with a book. What are you doing? This, you can just pick up the manual and go through the basics. Well, I don't really have time for that. Well, all right, Pam, then I can't fix you. No one else can come and show you how to use that camera. Right? And you can watch tutorials and you can learn from other people, but if you don't actually put it in your hands and press some buttons and start figuring it out, you will forever still not know how to use your camera. There are people listening to this right now that bought a camera and they got it on and it works, but they don't know how to use it. Okay? And here is where that comes from. They started the conversation with, I am not a techie person. Why did I give you the Obama speech right now? Because I want to make sure that sticks in your head. Never, ever iterate, get it, iterate. Okay, there's a new docism. You can write that one down. Never iterate those stupid words. I am not a tech person. Nobody is a tech person. There is no such thing. This is a label that we generated that makes some people think that all the way back from VHS, before computers got popular, we had the flashing 12s, right? You go to their house, their VHS is always flashing 12. Why? Because they didn't set the clock. They would say they didn't know how to set the clock. Really, they just never tried because there was literally buttons on front of the VHS, H, M, S. Done. It was that difficult. And so I used to go around to people's houses and fix their clock. And they go, oh my God, oh, he's a genius. He knows how to. No, you just didn't even try. You really didn't.
You gotta push some buttons.
Push some buttons.
And the switch that I made from like, I'm not, right? Like, I'm not a tech person. I'm not good at money. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to XYZ. I took that out. It was like, I'm learning. I'm still developing. I am still getting to know this thing because it's all a process because like you didn't know what you didn't know until you knew it. And now you know it. Like I didn't know how to cook and then I knew how to cook because I took the time to do it. But if I had always just told myself like, oh, I don't know how to cook. Like I definitely know those people who are like, it's just because they don't want to cook. That's okay.
That's okay.
But you can't say.
Be a carry-out queen. Like say, I'm a carry-out queen. Cool with it. Identify that. So, you said something very, very valuable right there. I learned this a long time ago. I can't remember who I learned it from, but you don't say I'm quitting smoking. You say I am a non-smoker. There's a different mindset. It's the smallest little thing to your brain, but it's a very different mindset between I am trying to quit something that is contentious. It's a fight. It's a battle. There's tension with myself and my inner well-being, so to speak. But if you say I'm a non-smoker, boom, you changed your mindset. So now you got to get to that, right? And I know it's a small change. So when people say I'm not a tech person, they're legit like blocking themselves. And I would this, oh, well, you know how to do that because you're a techie. I was not born with a keyboard in my ass. I made an executive decision when I was little wee children that I was going to learn this stuff because it excited me. And I knew that one day it would dominate the world. Now, how does an 8-year-old have that kind of insight? Star Trek. And later, Star Wars. And I was 11. But between those two, and then what's the robot one? You guys don't even remember this one. Johnny's robot. Oh my God, Alfred. Lost in Space. There you go. Between Lost in Space and Star Trek and Star Wars, I knew that computers was going to be my thing. So I always took the time when everybody else was reading Sports Illustrated or Boys Life or sneaking their dad's Playboys, I was reading Computer Shopper. And my dad's Playboys. So you could do both, There was a time where people thought you could not be a jock and a nerd at the same time. I had to do both because I wanted to play sports and I was good at it, but my mom was going to kick my butt. So I ran away from home. And I moved to Hawaii and I got my Korean mom. And she's like, you didn't do your homework yet? Huh? No, I'm a grown. I don't got to do my, okay, go ahead and not do that homework. Yeah, that blue ruler come out. You know what I mean? So it's just an executive decision, bro. It's legit an executive decision. Okay, so I think it's important. Gear and skills, you have to just make the time for it. You have to learn how to do it. But also nowadays, a phone is dope. You can get very simple microphones that will just work for you. That kind of stuff is too easy to overcome at this point. There's so many fantastic tools. That one's not that big a deal. So let's move past that.
Like you had said, like with the carry-out queen, right? Like you don't want to cook, that's okay. You can say you don't know how to cook or you don't want to cook, you're carry-out queen. You don't have to learn how to use like the shallow depth of field and the 3-point lighting and the like audio interfaces. You can be the iPhone content creator. Like that is fine. Bro. It's more than fine. Like sometimes it's like better.
Gretchen showed us in the chat a little while ago this girl who's she's a wilderness girl. She's out by herself with a van in the forest, and she records everything on the iPhone because of her being on the van in the forest, and she's doing good. And again, we just watched an incredible video from one of our friends who's like 30 some odd million people on TikTok. I think that's her current number. And of course, it's TikTok. So it's all phone. You know what I mean? It's funny because her YouTube channel is nowhere near that amount. And then she's now figuring out I should be on YouTube because long content is a little bit still the move. Everybody got high on short content for the last couple of years. And if we're realizing there's no depth in that, but that's a different subject. But yeah, so you don't have to learn everything. There's a lot of people that know how to press the gas pedal and the brake and they can barely reverse, but they drive every single day. You know what I mean? They're not Lewis Hamilton. Big ups to the man. That's my favorite driver. But yeah. Anyway, so what do you think about the second portion? This one's tough for me because I have so many thoughts on this and I'm going to try to leave space for people to breathe.
Okay. Yeah. So the next point of resistance that I definitely faced after I learned how to use all of my gear and learned how to edit and do all of those things, that was not an excuse anymore, was the processes of how do I X, Y, Z? What is the workflow? What is the way that I do this? Is there a checklist? It's just really the answer to that is you're disorganized. Like, at least that was my history, was like the processes didn't exist. So I had to build them. But then when I built them, now it was like, now what? You have to keep looking deeper.
I want everyone to lean into what Lou just said. She said it's because you're disorganized. I know exactly that feeling. Okay. For me, it was back in the day when OmniFocus and Things 3 and all this stuff first came out and everybody was starting to get into the whole productivity bros, right? I say that because most of the productivity people were dudes and it made people feel some type of way. And that's where the term of like toxic productivity, people started to get mad at Gary Vee. Gary Vee was still always just telling you facts and you just didn't like it. But if you were to watch a Matt Diavala or a Thomas Frank, I'm going with the current ones now, it's very easy to feel inadequate in your organization, right? And so that would lead you to believe that you're disorganized. I know some people who are massively disorganized, but yet they know exactly where everything is and they get a lot of stuff done, right? It's organized confusion, if you will. So don't look at one of the clean desk kids and think you got to be that to call yourself organized. That's not necessarily what it means, right? Don't let the productivity toxicity get you. The perfect background with one flower, one coffee cup, wooden desk accessories, and a slightly raised monitor. Yo, my desk don't look like that. And honestly, before they record that video, none of their desks look like that neither. Now, my desk
cracked me up. I was like, there's no way.
No way.
You have stuff on your desk, but like, it's a cute video though. Like turn the camera around and you'll see the stacks of boxes from the things they need to review or, give away or throw out. Like the laundry's not done. Like it's fine.
Right. They're putting on the show for the little camera and it's cool, whatever, man. Like my desk, I do clean it a lot, but in the middle of the day, it gets crazy. And I try to come here. I clean the desk at least 2-3 times a week and it gets psycho. My brother June and I, we would just laugh because like Pops will spend all day cleaning his desk. That desk be gorgeous. About 15 minutes later, bro, he got like 70 video boxes open, looking for screws, soldering iron out, solder on the table, a brewski in the corner. And I was like, yeah, that was cute, Pops. You cleaned your desk, huh? And he goes, oh yeah, but I had to fix this real quick. And then he runs out the door. So now it's back to, crazy again. So it happens. Don't let that mess with you. But I do want to say something about workflow. People watch. We will do this. I'm even going to say this bad because I know we are probably going to do a show that explains our workflow. Anybody that came for the taping of this, they saw us do a workflow live. it's easy to look at that and feel like yours is going to be inadequate because you don't have the same flow. Looking at somebody's workflow and comparing it to yours is like watching a chef make pasta and then you making pasta. There's
Not
a difference. There is a difference, bro. Like, they have equipment that you don't have. Your stove does not do what the Viking at the restaurant does. It's nice, it works, it's cute, it's stainless steel, but it doesn't do what the Viking does at the place, right? Their ingredients are at a whole different level. They made their pasta. You bought Berea if you're smart. All the other brands are kind of whack. So the comparison game will mess you up. Don't feel you have to absolutely pick up somebody else's workflow and try to force fit it into you, because it's not going to fit. It's just not. You're going to take the best parts of what they do and then bring that into your fold. And then how can I adapt that to work my way?
And I also like to boil it down to what is the most
chef thing?
Simple. Yes, right. We're boiling the pasta. We turned on the oven. We're gonna put it in the blender. But I like to really, we can what's the other one where you reduce the butter, right? We're gonna do like a reduction, a process reduction. What is the simplest thing process that you can come up with? That's why I am always preaching create, release, repeat. Because I know if I, at the bare minimum, make it, put it out, and then plan to do it again, that is a process. That is a checklist that I can go. That doesn't require like notes and like checklists and things like that. It's just make it, put it out, do it again. And then that's where the repetition comes in. And then you can start adding other things on top of it. But before I had like that kind of notion in my head was just like, I need to make. And then my brain would melt.
Man,
because it's too much possibility.
Listen, you keep hitting these out of the park, Big Poppy. You said something that was super, super clean in that. In the process of make and then release and repeat, even today, this is technically the second episode, but the third taping because we taped a trailer episode. We added something to the process, took some things away from the process. We smoothed out the flow. We will have a Creators Unstuck workflow by about episode 10. So if you're on episode 2 and you feel like your workflow is jacked, it's because you do not have enough steps to know what that is, right? When I was a wee lad, I used to watch Ken Griffey Jr. and I was like, yo, that dude is a beast. So I went to the box and I tried to emulate that swing and I could not do it. I struck out so many times. And my coach is like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm getting in the Griffey stance. He goes, you ain't Ken Griffey? What is your stance? Now, again, that's not a Mitch McConnell freeze. That is called let it marinate. I want you to see that. What is your stance? I do not have the same body mechanics as a Pete Rose or a Ken Griffey Jr. Even when I was standing back there with my mask on, I would try to be Johnny Bench. And he was like, if you do not pull your foot back underneath your buttocks, I will come over there and pop you in the mask. And I'm like, what? That's how Johnny Bench stands. You ain't Johnny Bench. Also illegal in high school. So put your foot under your butt and catch the ball. And I was like, oh, okay, And again, I understand the idea now as an adult, why you would want to emulate your heroes. These dudes were banging. If you go back to when I was in school, you go Pete Rose, force, right? Johnny Bench, absolute force. Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. playing at the same time, absolute force. The Ripken family, absolute force. But what it came up with, I ain't that good at baseball. So I went soccer and football and track. But when I started, everybody starts with Little League Baseball because that's the first one. You start a T-ball, right? You either start there or you start with soccer. In our country at that time, very bad with, like, soccer was weird. Like, that was a way to get in fights at school. You know what I mean? So I get the idea of wanting to emulate your heroes. And I don't think there's absolutely something wrong with it. It's not a complete wash, but you might not be able to put your body in those positions. So watching a Les Freeman or Steve Bartlett or some of your favorite creators out there and you want to be them and you're like, why is my flow different? Because you're different. Well,
It's
they're better
inspo,
than
not
me.
a blueprint.
You are enough, homie. You are ENUFF enough. Some of us is too much.
Oh, and it's like, you know, like with content creation, I remember trying to start a blog because it's like, okay, that's the thing. You start a blog. And I could not, like, I tried it and you don't know until you try things, whether it's going to work for you or not. Like, that's like the key is like, you have to actually do it in order to either improve the process or realize you need to be doing something different. But the key is like, you have to, right? Again, you have to do it. But I remember trying to write this blog and I would just dread sitting down to write this blog. Now you can't stop me because I got AI on my side. That's beside the point. I use that as an assistant for the things that are not useful or inflow for me because I can come up with the ideas. I can make the video. I did not realize I could do videos the way I do videos until I tried a couple of other things and realized those weren't for me. But how can I show up? I can talk. I can put myself on camera and I can talk. And then I can learn how to edit a video. And then I can just put it online because it's free distribution. You don't need somebody's permission to show up online. Like, I moved to Los Angeles to work in the entertainment industry, like to be an actress, to be a host, but there was so much waiting for somebody's permission, someone to choose you. But then when it clicks that you do not need permission, you could just do it. Girl, just go.
I love that. You don't need anybody's permission. Like, you can just absolutely go. And you know, here's one last thing on that sort of side of it is I have my mentor, right? People that I looked up to and I just thought was the smartest people in the world. And one of them is Seth Godin. Like, I mean, from marketing school all the way, I mean, we use Seth Godin books all through marketing school. And as far as I know, homie's a genius. Like, homie is legit a genius. But you know what? In eCam, I'm better than him. Because when he get a problem, guess who he got to ask for the answer? Right? So that was a crazy thing to me that somebody who I see as infallible pops into my community and be like, hey, y'all, I got a question. And we're like I listen, I had a full ass, I needed to grab the defibrillator off the wall myself and because I was like, Seth is in here, Seth doesn't know how to use it, can't let me help him. And you know, it was just a small problem, but I was able to help. And then we got him into our support mechanism and figured out what the problem is. But to see one of your heroes actually come off the mount and be like, hold up, people, what's going on down here, normal folks? I have a tech question. And I'm like, I can help him with that. You are doper than somebody who you're about to help. And then eventually they'll catch up to you, whatever. But that is the thing. You are enough. At that moment in time, I'm not as marketing phenom as him, but I'm an eCam phenom. So I can pay back all of what he gave to me. You know, not even close. I owe him a lot more. but it just felt good. It felt good.
With the topic of Seth Godin, there's something that he said that pertains to the last bullet point, the last point that we want to cover. But first, I want to know about your pick of the week.
Ooh, dang, I like that, dude. See, this podcast, the one-on-one, build a little tension, leave them hanging, leave them with the blue. Never mind. I almost said it twice today. I can't say that. Anyway, so going back to topic one, gear. Let's take some pains away from folks. This is known as the Osby Tiny 2 Lite. It is the big little brother of the Osby Tiny 2, which I have right here, which up until now was literally one of my favorite web cameras. If I'm being honest, this is still slightly better. This is the light version. But what I like what they did was by taking out some of the things that a lot of people won't use, they can bring the price point down. So this is a very inexpensive 4K web camera that brings incredible quality. There was a gap from about pandemic time until now, a little bit like maybe a year ago, where people were just, all things that were out were outclassing web cameras, right? So everybody was going out and buying things like this to do their video. This is a $2,500 body with like this is a cheap $200 lens, but it's almost $3,000, right? I can get just as good a picture quality out of this. Well, not just as good, close enough. Let's be honest. I can get close enough picture quality to that Sony out of this little wee lad, and anybody can operate this. I can put this in the hands of my auntie, and she's going to plug in a USB-C cable, and it's going to work. And she's going to throw up her little hands, and it's going to zoom in and zoom out, and then the framing, and it has all of that. It has great microphones. It's super light. You could travel with it. And it has a little base that you can, use it to clip onto your monitor if you're using a notebook. So if I wanted to attach it to the top of my little iPad here, I could, and just stick it right there on top of the iPad. And then I am ready to plug it in and go to town. So I will put a link in the description. It is found at obsbot.com, and it's the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite. And that's my pick of the week, especially for someone who wants to look better on camera, but is not ready to jump all of their money and not feed their kids. Like, I need to feed some kids and still make some good content.
Well, speaking of looking good on camera, but it also sounding good on camera, as my pick of the week is definitely, honestly, the Doc Pops. It's the Doc Pops. It is, mine just came in because Doc was like, oh, like, we're going to make some videos. We need to make some promos. So like, if you've ordered yours, they're going to come later in the year because we've got to get these pre-orders up. So if you have not yet ordered your Doc Pops, like, get them now so we can all have these, because they're beautiful and they pop, they sound good. Like, I've definitely gotten the other color of mic windscreens that, the colorful ones that are out there on the internet, and it's not this quality. Like, Doc has put work into it. They look good. They sound good. Like, we're just like obsessed with the feel of these.
Paul
and this
Paul
pink
kills me. Paul be on there like this, like, so soft.
And like, so depending on like what microphone you have, there's definitely one. If you have the MB7 or MB7 Plus, that's what this one is. So that one works well there. Also, if you want the like little bit longer one, this is the one for the SM7B. So this is what it looks like on the MB7. So it's just, a little bit of a different look. I like this one because I feel like I take up a lot of space when I talk. And then with the pod mic, which I think there's not a lot of covers for these ones, for this microphone, but it just looks so good. And if you want to stand out on camera, you want something that people are going to see and they're like, whoa, what's that? Like, get a Doc Pop. Like, the colors are really great. And like in person, like, I can't even. We could go on this for forever. This was Mary Lou not sponsored. This was like legit my pick of the week, because when I opened this up, I was like, whoa.
We recorded the other episode. You didn't have it yet. Listen,
didn't.
Guys, we could take it back to the 80s and then rock the old crop top. Remember dudes used to wear the crop top back in the 80s? I think Paul still rocks that on the weekend.
We can bring that back. That's fine with me.
He got the little crop top. Yo, I remember even football, like, I used to have the half jersey because of Barry Sanders. Like, Barry Sanders used to wear the half jersey, and my coach was like, boy, if you cut another jersey, I would knock you out. Yes, sir. We just thought it was cool. We thought it was harder to get tackled because they couldn't grab the bottom of your jersey. What happens is, when you get stuck under the part where your jersey used to protect you, you never want to wear a half jersey again. So Barry Sanders was just a beast, because your stomach is all scratched up from people trying to grab you. Super
well,
cool.
a request for my pop of the week is to
your pop of the week.
My pick of the week is jump to Paul's screen, because he had the best ad up.
Dude, this is just my man Paul right here. Hold on, let's see if I can big screen Paul. Oh, it's still in this little format. But yeah, this is super funny. Thank you, Paul, for the support. And let me go back to the regular show. All right, so we got our picks of the week out of the way. And now I am curious. How do we
the
Identify
deepest
the
deepest core of the
the
resistance.
deepest clog. Yes, the deepest clog.
The deepest one. Okay, so in this one of the recent talks with Seth Godin, like, I don't know, I'm just like on a bender now because I found out he popped into the ECAM group. It was like, whoa.
I've read every single one of his books. Some of them I'd listen to over and over again. A good one to listen to over and over again is Permission Marketing, and then Linchpin. Linchpin has always been one of my favorite SG books, and the man's a legit beast, man. He's a legit beast.
Yeah, and we need to start our Creators Unstuck book club.
Yeah, and we will.
We just need to get the reading list.
I just want you to know something right now, people. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I am putting out into the world that one day, instead of me, Mary Lou, and Paul leaning back, it would be me, Mary Lou, and Seth Godin on the show. I'm just going to put those feelers out in the world right now. Okay?
Yes. Okay, so in one of the recent podcast interviews, I heard him talk about this, the concept of imposter syndrome, right? So like we've just definitely discussed, we have like opinions about that, but he had a really neat way of addressing this emotion that you are not the one to help. If you're on a dock, right? And you see somebody drowning. Of course, the lifeguard would be better to go save them, but the lifeguard's not available. You are standing on the dock. You could actually help this person. Are you going to be like, well, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't, I'm just going to let them drown? Or are you going to jump in the water and help them out? Who cares if somebody is better equipped at it than you? If you are the person in front of the person that needs the help, jump in the water. And that is a way to address that emotion of imposter syndrome. And emotions, like there's all sorts of emotions that can cause resistance for you. For me, the major emotion that kept me from doing things was not necessarily that I shouldn't be, but that I shouldn't be seen. And then I addressed it eventually, that I was like, that's not my emotion, because there's something in me that wants to be seen, that wants to perform. I've always been a performer. I've always wanted to be on things, but there's always this little voice in the back of my head that's like, no, sit down. You're not as cute as you think you are. Sit down. Stop saying that you feel confident about things. Sit down. When I was like, but that's not me. So I unsubscribed to her. And here I am.
You know me, that's my favorite thing that we ever talk about, is just like unsubscribing from things that don't work in your favor. Like, why would you subscribe to something that doesn't work in your favor? Let it go, Elsa. Let it go. You mentioned this, and I think about it. So, one of our people in the crew, Yolanda, she's making this podcast, and her podcast is about the Baltimore Ravens. Let's call it Ravens Talk with Yolanda. Let's call it. I think that's exactly what it's called. I was like, let's call it. No, I think she kind of branded it. Anyway, so it could easily be, I'm going to pretend to be the monkey mind inside Yolanda's head. I don't know if I can do this, because if there's a show put out by Ed Reed, more people are going to listen to Ed Reed than they're going to listen to me. That statement might be 100% true. For Mary Lou's sake, Ed Reed was one of the more venerable, famous Ravens, because he was a badass and he stopped a lot of people from catching footballs. Okay. But there are people who are going to want to listen to Yolanda's voice because it's more what they are. She's a fan. She's a female. She is speaking from a level of wanting the best for the team, not necessarily needing to protect her reputation, right? Ed, while being one of the best players ever to play the game, has a reputation to upkeep, is going to, be talking from a place where he can't really overly badmouth the organization, because, once a Raven, always a Raven type of situation. That's for any team, by the way. I'm just using them as an example because it matches her story. So yeah, it's like you said, the person standing on the dock is the best lifeguard at the moment. Sometimes you're the best lifeguard because you're the different perspective, right? So there are people who are going to feel like, I can kick it with Yo because we are similar. I am nowhere near Ed Reed. Well, I play safety, so I'm close, but still not that good, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think you're definitely right in that. There's definitely people on the internet who have shows that know more about cameras than Mr. Camera Junkie, but I like his delivery. So I'm going to watch him because he is the level that I need right now. To make that shorter explanation and make more sense, I like spicy food, right? Mary Lou does it. If she's my homie, if she's going to hang out with me, she's going to have to get her Scoville game up. So I am going to start her with Tabasco. Because Tabasco has a Scoville scale of a fingernail. And I'm going to slowly work her way up to Evil Chicken Korean Ramen, which has a Scoville scale of like 2 million. You know what I'm saying? And I can't even eat that one. My brother June is full blood Korean. He can't eat that one. That one hurts. There's a few people, I think our mom can, but there's a few people that can eat the Evil Chicken Korean Ramen, the Budak Ramen. Yo, that joint is hot. But if you start at Tabasco, you can slowly work your way up. Actually, you can start at Frank's Red Hots, and then, which is buffalo sauce, and then we move you into Tabasco, and then we work your way on up the chain, and eventually you're able to handle it. You're absolutely able to handle it. So it's the same thing. Somebody's going to want to get you in where you get in because they can ride with you. They want to be a part of something. They don't just want to be on the outside looking in. How much is that doggy in the window? Woof, woof. Don't add that to the playlist, Kathy.
Right, and then like another thing with the feels, right, with the emotions that can stand in your way for creating is that feeling of, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. But it's like, I don't know, you don't feel like making breakfast all the time, but you're hungry, so you got to eat. You don't feel like going to work, but people still go to work. It's not about your feelings here. If you change that to, I am choosing to not make my videos today, now that's on you. That's taking responsibility.
That's empowerment.
But I choose to make my videos, even if I don't feel like it. I'm choosing to do it, and that'll just change everything because you can choose. You can choose.
See, Mary Lou is the best, yo. Let me tell you why. Anybody who's seen my talks when I go around the country and I speak, my third slide, it literally says choices. Because at the end of the day, whether you win or lose at this, it's all about choices. And a lot of people, putting it on your feelings is actually moving the responsibility to a feeling or an emotion or something that's technically somewhat out of your control. If you're like me, you just don't have feeling, you don't care, right? But if you are giving it to the emotion, you're saying that emotion is in control. You have let go of the wheel. Let Jesus take the wheel. No, Jesus, sit your ass in the back. I'm driving. You know what I'm saying? So don't let Jesus take the wheel, right? You be in control of that thing and say, I am choosing today to do jack. I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to watch football round. And then tomorrow I just got double work. But I made that choice. It is never somebody else's choice. So when I say this all the time, when people say, oh, well, this blah, blah, blah is coming in and it's taking my job. And I'm like, well, because when you had opportunity to take those classes that would move you up the skill level, when you had opportunity to work overtime when the boss asked, when you had opportunity to increase your skill level to take on a whole different position, when you had opportunity to make yourself so invaluable that you can't be replaced, you chose 3-day weekend. You chose parade. You chose going to the Red Sox game. You chose to go home and say that you want to spend time with your kids while your kid played video game and you sat in the back opening the slits. You chose what everybody says, I need the weekend to spend time with my kid, when what you do is put your kid in the car and you drive them to the activity and you let them do that all day while you go back home and sit in your garage. And then when the kid get picked up, you go pick them up and then you order pizza for dinner and then you send them to bed and you go to bed. You literally spent the time it takes to go from your house to the football game with your kid. So you told those lies to everybody because it was the societal norm. You told those lies to everybody because it made you feel good at the moment. And now you're getting passed up on that promotion by Dave, and then you want to blame Dave for taking your job. Nah. Dave was like, sorry, kid, I hate to disappoint you, but we're going to make so much money, I can take you to Disneyland whenever you want. But I have to work this next 2 years like a maniac so that we can spend all types of vacations up in the Magic Kingdom. Kid's like, all right, Dad, take your ass to work. Now, 2 years later, your son don't play football no more. He only plays video game. He don't talk to you because you never took him to Disneyland. And Dave and his kids walk around with Mickey Mouse ears going, hey, Mike, you want to go to Disneyland with us? And then you feel some type of way. That was you. You made those choices. So stop blaming it on other stuff. Like make the choice to be effective. Make the choice to be dope. Make the choice to have an impact. Make the right choice. Don't be afraid to make the wrong choice, though, because you can always fix it.
Right. And it's just about making choices. It's like the when you just don't make any choice.
Even worse.
Then that's the stuck part, right?
Yeah.
But you make a choice, you use like to the best of your ability, you are with the intention of it being the next best step. It may not be. You might step on like, something weird. And then you're like, wait, let me back up. But at least you made a
step
movement.
on something weird.
I was trying to think of like a sea urchin or like something spiky or something like that. But then I was like, it's weird. I don't know. It's squishy.
You want to know how do you solve the poison of a sea urchin?
How?
I live in Hawaii. You got to pee on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the same with like jellyfish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they neutralize it.
Yes. And no choice.
So sometimes
is
if you
choice.
step on it, you step in the wrong way, just pee on it, back up, pick a different choice.
That is definitely a very, very important statement there from the live studio audience, Alicia. No choice is absolutely a choice. So
that's
I'm just saying, like you're in control of more than you think. Let's just put it that way. You're in much more control than you think.
Right. So like to address the three things that we had, right? What it's the physical, the gear, and the skills.
The skills, correct.
Right. You can choose to learn those things.
Skillshare.
The process.
Look at Mary Lou's class.
You see my class on Skillshare. The processes, right? You can choose to try again. You can choose to create, release, and repeat. That's the way you're going to improve if you choose, right? And then with the emotions, there's like the book that I had recommended in the last episode is the Untethered Soul, with this concept that you've got the voices in your head and then you've got your consciousness. Your consciousness is you. You can choose because these thoughts, those emotions, they're not you because you can hear them. So they're not you. You are the receiver. You're in the audience of that. And you can be like, oh, I'm going to change the channel, right? Sometimes you need to just sit in it. Sometimes it's overwhelming. That's fine. I get that. I choose that sometimes too, because it's like, I don't know. I'm a human. I need to feel these things. But then there's the times where you can choose to be like, but not today. Not today. I'm going to go do something else. So
I am so glad that you brought up the conversation about consciousness, because I think people don't really understand what that means. And if you, I love words, and I love words breakdowns. Con is with. What comes after con in the spelling of consciousness? Science. It's conscience.
On science. I was like,
the actual spelling is conscience with evidence. Science is evidence. Consciousness is with evidence. Right? So fear is basically false evidence appearing real. I'm going to let that marinate. So when your conscience is twisted because of you're scared, you're taking a false evidence and letting it appear real and letting it affect your consciousness because you're adding that to your science.
Yeah. So I like
Stick
this.
with
So
me.
if your
Stick with me.
consciousness is you with, like, it's with science, right? So if you're the with science, with proof, right, with evidence, and then fear comes in and that's a separate thing, it's trying to convince you. It's trying to give you evidence
It's the false
that
evidence.
you can accept or reject.
Yeah. It's very easy to look at something glowing red and assume that it's hot, right? Because that's what we've been told. And where illusions come in is because it defies your science knowledge, right? So if you see something, a red water, or you see bubbles in the water, that's easy. I'll take it and make it simpler. You see a pool and the water is bubbling. Your first inclination is this is boiling water. And maybe even there's a thing that looks like steam coming off of it. But that steam is not steam, it's nebulized water droplets, which is different from steam. They look the same, but they're different because one's hot, one's cold. And so you like scared to stick your foot in, and you stick your foot in, it's like, oh, this is actually cool. Where'd the bubbles come from? Dry ice. Not heat. It bubbles, it steams. Well, you think it steams, it's just vapor, but the water's cold because it's dry ice, not heat, right? So that's what an illusion can do because it goes against your science.
So a way to address all of these things, or anytime that you're stuck, is to be investigative, right? To be curious, to look for the evidence. You don't know how to use your gear? Well, let's look for the evidence there. Okay, the evidence is you have not pushed any buttons. So let's investigate. Let's press some buttons. You can't get started because you don't know where to start. Well, let's get investigated. Let's get in there and again press some buttons, right? Let's try some things. Let's be curious. The same with the emotions and the feels. It's like, okay, well, you're telling me that I'm scared. You're telling me that I don't belong here, that I shouldn't be doing this. But let me go check it out for myself. And then see where you go.
There you go. And one thing, when you do your podcast, don't let your brother come to the live taping because he says dumb stuff in the chat that tries to derail your brain. I'm ignoring them. I'm totally ignoring them because June and Paul are like messing with me in the back, and I'm paying attention to Mary Lou. All right.
Well, I hope that you guys found this helpful.
Yes.
If there's any of this that resonates with you, we really, really, really want to build the community here. Like, you're not just the audience, you are with us. We want to hear how you're feeling. We want to hear what is working for you, what's not working for you, because either way, that might help somebody else in the community feel brave enough to jump in as well.
Yeah, I do. This is super important, especially I'm looking at the dudes in my crew. We were raised differently. We were raised like asking for help is sort of bad. And so a lot of dudes be out there doing stuff that probably would help if they spoke to someone. Like, by all means, yo, we're just telling you our side of the story. We're telling you how we feel. We're telling you our experiences. Yours might be different. And you actually may need to talk to somebody. You may need to hit up a better help. You may need to reach out. I have seen what happens to someone who takes the burden of all the pains by themselves and assume that they can't ask anyone for help. Okay? Like that hits me in so many places, right? So if something in here reminding you of something and you feel like you need to speak to someone, 100% you need to go speak to someone. You need to speak to someone as soon as possible. And there's lots of ways to do it nowadays. So you don't even have to be seen walking into, Dr. Vinny Boombop's office. You can legit do this at home over Zoom nowadays.
And I didn't get into therapy until it was like the pandemic, and I should have years and years and years prior. But going to therapy and, getting help and being able to kind of unburden some of these things really made the difference. Cause it's like, I had spent my years learning the gear. I had spent my years building the processes. And I was like, honestly, like with my creative work and my creative business was like, I don't know. Why can't I do this? I'm just paralyzed all the time. And it was through therapy where I got to unpack some things. And like, seriously, the therapist, she was like, I don't think that's you. Because she's like, I talked to you and you seem like you know what you're doing. You seem confident. You seem confident. But this extra thing that's paralyzing you, what if we look at that and say, that's not you? Let's get curious. Let's get investigative. And then I worked on my framework with that. I mean, also with medication too, because like sometimes it's chemical, but also if you are feeling any kind of way, like please just explore it. Just explore.
Yeah. Speaking of chemical medication, I'm gonna drink another cup of coffee. Guys, you have been checking out Creators Unstuck. It is our new podcast. Thank you. We made it through episode 2. I am Doc. And you can find me all over the interwebs at Doc Rock. And Mary Lou, what'd you say?
Oh, we got to work on that thing. We'd be like, I'm Doc and I'm Mary Lou. And this is
Creators Unstuck.
We'll do that afterwards. Okay. You can find Doc all over the internet at Doc Rock. Get your Doc Pops. Absolutely. Get a pop of color. I'm Mary Lou Mandel. I'm all over the internet as Mary Lou Mandel.
I love it. And you know what I was waiting for this whole time? To do my ending. Are you guys ready?
Let's do
my
it.
ending? You have been listening to Creators Unstuck, and so next week we will see you. He's stupid. He's absolutely stupid.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up.